So we have several great matchups for week 2 of college football, but there's a matchup that personally I feel like is flying a little bit under the radar right now. A matchup that I find extremely compelling because the Florida Gators are set to play host to their second-ranked team in as many weeks as the Kentucky Wildcats are coming to the Swamp. Today, we need to break down what it's going to take for each of these teams to find success in this game and talk about why I believe this is such an interesting matchup. Before we can, as always, y'all know the drill, I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, Y for yes, N for no. Do you believe the Florida Gators will be able to get their second-ranked win of the season? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed this content, like and comment down below as those interactions are massive. But having said all that, let's jump right into this, and we're going to start with why I believe this is such an interesting matchup. And it's really quite simple. It revolves around the SEC East because I think that is going to be an exciting league to watch this year. We saw what Georgia did on week 1, where they decimated Oregon, demanding the attention of college football fans everywhere. Florida is a team that came out and had an impressive win in week 1 over Utah. Likewise, you have Tennessee out there, who many fans in college football can't wait to see what they do. South Carolina with Spencer Rattler is a team that if their offense continues to develop, if Spencer Rattler finds his footing, they could be a really interesting team to watch within the SEC. Then you have a Kentucky who's coming off of a big year and has a quarterback in Will Levis that many in the national media are watching closely to see if he has a big season. So the SEC East is full of intrigue no matter where you look, and I'm really excited to see how it all plays out. And that's why whenever we get these two matching up, week 2 of college football where both are ranked, I think that's such an intriguing matchup, one that's going to help lay the landscape within the SEC East. So now let's jump into what it's going to take for these teams to be successful, and we're going to start with Kentucky's offense against Florida's defense. What is it going to take for Kentucky's offense to find success against the Gators' defense, and likewise, what's it going to take for the Gators' defense to find success against Kentucky's offense? Well, for Kentucky's offense, the player to know is, of no surprise, it's Will Levis, a veteran quarterback within college football. He returns and looks to have a big season. On the outside, Kentucky has some weapons. Tavion Robinson had a huge week last week, and freshman Barrion Brown is lightning within a bottle. If he gets the ball in his hands, he is an explosive playmaker with legit track speed. So Kentucky's passing game is a real and legit threat. They were able to generate over 300 yards through the air against Miami of Ohio in week 1. And look, this is a quarterback in Will Levis that the Kentucky Wildcat faithful have got a lot of faith in, and deservedly so. He had a really good year last year and looks to back that up this year. My only concern for Kentucky's offense is actually a big one. They were able to generate nothing in the run game against Miami of Ohio. Actually, they averaged 1.9 yards per carry, and Will Levis was sacked 4 times. Playing Miami of Ohio and having those kind of results is one thing. You can probably still squeak out the win if you are a Kentucky. But playing a Florida and expecting to average 1.9 yards on the ground, you're really backing yourself into a corner, because Florida has got talented athletes on that defense that if they get to key in that every down is a passing scenario because Kentucky is unable to run the ball with any effectiveness, you're going to make Will Levis's job exponentially harder than it needs to be. So this is going to be a week where Kentucky's run game has got to show up to take some pressure off of the quarterback and the wide receivers, because they need to be balanced in their attack to beat the Florida Gators. Look, no matter if you're playing Florida or whoever you may be playing, you want that rushing attack to develop for Kentucky because you need your offense to be balanced. It's going to take pressure off of Will Levis, and it's going to help increase his production by keeping the defense on their heels. However, if there's no threat to a run game, the Florida defense can tee off. And the other thing I find alarming for Kentucky is that they allowed 4 sacks against Miami of Ohio. So if you're Florida's defense trying to find success against Kentucky's offense, that's exactly where I'd start, getting to the quarterback and getting some sacks. Because Will Levis, even though he was sacked 4 times, was still able to generate over 300 yards through the air. So that shows you he's still a solid presence. But if you can nullify the rush the same way Miami of Ohio did, and you can get to the quarterback, I think Florida has to like their chances. Now, if we flip the script, how can we find Florida's offense to have success against Kentucky's defense? And just like I said for Kentucky, the player that I'm going to be watching on Florida's offense is quarterback Anthony Richardson, who is a dynamic playmaker who accounted for a lot of big plays in week 1. Anthony Richardson is someone who Kentucky is going to look to try and limit however they can. The one thing I think Florida is going to attempt to do is impose their will on the ground. They were able to do so against Utah, and Kentucky had a harder time stopping Miami's rushing attack than I thought they would in week 1. So if you're Florida and you've watched that week 1 film, I think you're feeling confident about your ability to gain successful plays through the rushing attack, both through your running backs and through Anthony Richardson. And if the Gators are able to impose their will through the rush, that's where I think we're going to start seeing this passing game opening up. So it is really key for Kentucky to be able to limit this Florida rushing offense, and especially you need to be able to limit Anthony Richardson. You can't have him being able to generate so many successful plays with his legs and his arm. So you're going to have to try and limit Florida's ability to run the football, because I think that's going to be the catalyst for Florida's offense going forward. Not to say I don't think they're going to have a successful passing attack, I just think that the catalyst of that team, the way they're currently built, is going to be the rush. And why wouldn't you when you have a quarterback with the athletic ability that Anthony Richardson has? So whenever you look at this, you have two SEC East teams facing off in early season action, which I love. The SEC East is a compelling league this year, and this is going to pave the way to how it will all end up. If we look at this from Kentucky's point of view, they're going to need to get something going on the rushing attack, something that they absolutely did not have week 1, where they averaged 1.9 yards per rush. Florida defensively needs to be able to get after Will Levis. Miami of Ohio was able to generate 4 sacks against Kentucky, something that Florida will be looking to replicate. If we flip the script and talk about Florida's offense against Kentucky's defense, I think the rushing attack is going to be key for that Florida offense as they try and generate successful plays and to open up the passing game. And for Kentucky's defense, you're going to have to stop the Florida rushing attack, because I believe that's going to be the catalyst which is going to allow them to open up their passing game. Luckily, you have a veteran linebacker in DeAndre Square, but it's going to take more than a veteran linebacker to be able to effectively shut down Anthony Richardson and Florida's rushing attack. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking about this. That's it. See ya.